Preparing to live stream the meeting. Okay. Please, guys, check in with the podcast page on YouTube. Yes,
it's not going to YouTube. You're going straight to.
No, it's live on YouTube. It says.
Okay, that's cool.
The Facebook group is more interactive.
But where is it? I don't see it on Podcasters Unleashed. I think you must be on your YouTube.
Now, guys, we are live on YouTube.
But where? I don't see it on Podcasters Unleashed.
It is.
Oh, okay, let's go then. We need to record.
Check this link.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop.
I see it now.
Okay, finally, we are trying to, we have some tech resistance on my side. I'm trying to get from StreamYard to Zoom. Anyway, hello everyone. Welcome to Podcasters Unleashed. I'm so happy to be back here to host this topic about phone addiction and how we can beat it actually, because it affected everyone from all ages. And actually, it's not a new topic because on the show, we talked about AI, Web3, the new technology, and what's going to happen in the future. But the important thing is talk about what really the real issue behind the technology now and how it's affecting us, because we are getting addicted more and more, and we start this addiction unknowingly during the pandemic. So before digging deep to the topic, I would like to introduce my co-host. Carla, go first.
Hi everyone, I'm Carla Magdalene and I'm the host of the Wonder and Wellbeing podcast, which is a podcast that looks at things related to education and well-being. Over to you, Victor.
Yeah, thank you, Carla. I'm Victor Seo. I'm the host of the Diaspora Entrepreneurs podcast, where we have. Yeah, I'm Victor Seo. I am the host of the Diaspora Entrepreneurs podcast, where I have conversations with entrepreneurs who have left the 9 to 5 towards building a lifestyle of freedom through entrepreneurship. Over to you, Carla. Hala.
Okay, great. So today we don't have a guest, but today we're going to talk about the side effects of phone addiction, specifically because I have seen some statistical reports about UK, China, and the world around us, and it's very scary actually, because we've seen that in UK. The BBC states that at least every 12 minutes, people check in their phone, and 71% they said they never turn off their phone, and 78% they said they can't live without it, without the phone. So it's become an extension tool for our body. I would like to know whether Carla or Victor, you can jump in. How long you stay at your phone?
Well, try messaging me and you'll see. Never, you will never find me on my phone unless I'm doing something constructive. I hate mobile phones. And I only have one because of the people that love me and the fact that they want to get hold of me. I cannot stand them. I often joke with my kids and say that I'm just going to get rid of it and get an old-fashioned landline. And I've never been able to take to them. And I do see the value of them and all the positive things that you can do with them, but I do not sit and scroll on my phone. I've never got used to doing that at all. So I'm the wrong one to ask, Carla.
While I am the direct opposite of that, I am quite, I won't say addictive, but I have these devices that I use now to kind of like reorganize digital, my digital, um, my digital exposure. My phone. I enjoy social media, and also I belong to different mastermind groups. So you don't want to miss anything. Maybe it's a fear of missing out. I don't know, but I'm always there.
Always on point, always keeping up
Yeah,
with everything.
you just have to find a way to just, let me not jump ahead, but
Yeah.
it is a real worry because sometimes I catch myself like, oh, okay. So it's like something is just pulling out of me, like the focus on the small screen, just like, so I just catch myself, I'm like, oh, okay, wait a minute, slow down. So I just like drop it. Mostly if I find an interesting article, interesting book, you know, ebook to read, or some videos that I really like, I just like all in.
Yeah,
So,
so you're all in digitally, actually. And that's the issue because people now are less and less, they consume paper stuff and books and everything. Now they are centralizing everything in their phones, which now I realize it's a disaster. So how do you regulate your internet consumption, your digital consumption?
one, to me, I'm just mindful about how I consume it, even though it's easier said than done for me. But I'm, I don't know, was it last year or during the pandemic? I just like I went on a digital fast. Again, so what I did was no social media for like, I think it was like 7 days. No social media, nothing for 7 days. But I was still with my phone, so I still check my email. But no social media, no WhatsApp. If you want to talk to me, just call me and something like that. So I did that digital fast, and also I was following too many people as well.
Okay.
It was kind of like a digital decluttering, if I can use
Mm.
that word. I was following too many people who were not like really um, going to the direction that I want to
Mm.
go. So I was just following random people, comedians, business people, entrepreneurs, footballers, football club, just different random stuff, horticulture, anything that is beautiful, anything that is alive, I just follow. But I think after that, I just unfollowed. I think I unfollowed like over 1,000 or more than 1,000 people on social media. And
Well,
these
that's
were
a
people
great
that,
start. Yeah.
yeah, these are people that I really, really like, and I enjoy their story. I enjoy what their content. But it was just pulling me left, right, left, right, left, right, and I was getting myself. So I just did that. You know what? I had to like use one of these apps, unfollow app.
Mm.
So you just select as many as possible that you want to unfollow. So it does the mass unfollow on your social media. So I had to like reduce significantly people that I follow to just who I want. Even my loved ones as well, I unfollow so many of them.
Well, you have a big family, so
Yeah,
if you
I
just follow your
unfollowed.
family.
Oh my God. Oh. But it was good. I found out that I was not really missing anything.
And what
Yeah.
about you, Carla?
Sorry,
How
just
do you how do you consume your time on the internet? What kind of content do you consume?
I'm not a big content person either. I do follow a few YouTube channels, but I think because I'm so busy in the physical world, I don't really have much online presence or time for online stuff. I probably get a bit excessive with Netflix and online stuff like that because that's all is streaming, isn't it? Sometimes, especially if I'm feeling a bit down or if I'm procrastinating, I might OD on a Netflix show and just like watch episodes back to back instead of kind of saying, okay, I'm going to allow myself 2 hours here as a treat. That's probably my only excess, I would say, social media or internet wise. But because I'm quite an academic person, and the work that I'm always involved in does involve me being on the internet and doing research and things. Sometimes I can go down black holes with research and get a bit lost, and not achieve the goal that I'm trying to achieve, but just end up doing more and more research and more reading. That's a bit of a pitfall for me, that I have to have some self-discipline. And sometimes if I really need to get a task done, I will disconnect from the net and just focus on the thing that I need to do. And I also have different browsers for different tasks. So if I'm doing Podcasts as Unleashed, I've got a browser for that. If I'm doing London Real, I've got a browser for that. If I'm doing stuff to do with the baby bank, so that they're all organized, because that makes me conscious as well. If I'm browsing, for example, nonsense when I'm supposed to be doing work for the baby bank, they will know, because they'll see in the browser history. So that's a good thing as well. I think a kind of a protection for you if you're sharing browsers with people, because it makes you accountable not to open things that you don't want them to know you've been opening. Or if they think you're working, but they can see that you've been watching Netflix, then it's kind of like a protection for you.
Okay. Well, that is interesting, because I see a lot of high numbers of phone addiction, especially in countries like China, Saudi Arabia, UK. I think it's in the 60th, I think. I have a picture here that I've saved it. Yes, so United Kingdom is the 60th, Egypt the 9th, and the first one is China. And actually what they have done is they have created addiction boot camps for everyone, for people who are addicted and who they pass more than 6 hours on phones. So that is very interesting to see. Do you think that we need those boot camps here in the West?
Absolutely. I think so. Absolutely. Because you wouldn't know. It was when, now I remember, it was when I was doing a Warrior Mind coaching program to be a certified high performance coach. Oh, because I found out that as at that time I was very, very unclear, unsure of what I wanted to do. So I decided to go into this coaching program just to, if you want to, the best thing, if you want to learn something, learn it as if you want to teach it to someone. You get the point. So that is why I started like figuring out, okay, this is what is taking most of your time for you to be unproductive, for you to get things done. And procrastination, like what khaoula said, that you just start ODing on Netflix. Mine, I just go on Facebook, or I'll just go on Instagram, not TikTok, but Instagram. I'll just like start scrolling and see a link. It is really a dark hole. See a link and you just go straight into YouTube and you start watching YouTube upon YouTube and just start going and back. So since then, after doing that program, what I had on my phone was a digital balance on my phone. So I had to like set it up for I think about 5 hours a day. So after 5 hours, any new window that you want to open, we send you like a digital screen cover and said, do you want to go into this site? Okay. And when you click on it, it gives you like the option of 15 minutes or unlimited. So you'll be like, wait a minute, have I spent this amount of hours on this app just now? You find out that yes, you have spent an hour, 2 hours, and it goes just like this. So until you are conscious. So I think these boot camps, wherever they are, it is highly, highly needed and highly recommended. And I think they should publish it some more, so that it should go mainstream, because people will actually need some time away from the screen.
Yeah. But how does that make you feel when you are scrolling and wasting
It's
hours?
just, I think they call it the dopamine also. You just feel high, you just feel connected because you're watching something that gives you instant gratification, and you neglect what you're supposed to do. So if you're supposed to like maybe record a podcast, you just want to like, or maybe edit your podcast or send an email to a guest, you find out that you're stalling, whereas you can just do it. But you find out that you're stalling and you start, okay, you know what, let me look for a guest now. If you want a guest on your show, you start scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. You see a guest that you like. You click on it, you see an article, and that you start just going, see. So until you know, because for me, I just knew that, for me I like entertainment. I can just look for a show and get myself happy, get myself high on the show, and just like watch a whole season of the show. I can go back and watch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons of my favorite shows. So, but I know that, I can't go on like this. So there should be boundaries for me. So it wasn't, it's still it's not that easy, but I found out that I was doing more than just, if you want to send an email, it's easy to just say, just do it when you have your phone with you. When you write the schedule down, write the plans, write everything down, all you have to do is action. But with your phone, it is.
Yeah. Actually, it was created to grab our attention, and I think it's a very dangerous way to give your life to it, because a lot of people now, they wake up or they sleep with their phones, even the alarm. Now I'm trying to think I will need to buy an alarm so I won't check my phone in the morning. So I want to get to the point of the addiction. Do you, Carla, think it's considered as for yourself, do you see it as a disease now?
Absolutely, yes. I like the books and the work of Gabor Mate, the addiction expert. His work is really groundbreaking and amazing because he goes beyond addictions to substances, and he talks about addiction in terms of it being a behavior. And he says that it's any behavior that gives a person temporary pleasure, has negative consequences in their life, but despite that, they can't give it up. And so he opens us up to the possibility that there can be many more addictions than we've been previously led to believe. And obviously we've seen in the last few years a widespread acceptance of tech addiction. And I think it was when it hit our children that we were admitting it, which is usually when things start to hit a crisis point, because usually the adults are suffering first, but adults are very good at hiding things, whereas children are not. And I know I've definitely experienced screen addiction with my youngest child, who my eldest children are in their 20s. So they had the luxury of having a childhood where screens weren't an addiction. And you did have kids who were addicted to TV in the 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s. It was a thing back then, but it wasn't as widespread or as spoken about as much as the screen addiction for the younger generation. My youngest child is 11. And I distinctly remember when he spotted an iPad and realized that it was much more interesting than baby toys, and he was about 6 months old. But actually, when I think back to it, any unhealthy patterns of screen addiction that I saw with him definitely had started in us before. So even though I say that I'm not a phone person, I'm not addicted to my phone, the first year that I got an iPad, I was. iPads are very addictive for me. Well, they were when they first came out. I got over it very quickly because I got a busy life. But I remember when I had extended periods of time at home after when I was on maternity leave with my son, being addicted to the iPad. So it was no surprise that he then was like, oh, what's this that mummy's on all the time? I want it. But it's very serious addiction. Children throw tantrums and get really distressed when they're addicted to them. I've seen it myself. And I've had to deal with it with my son, but I've also had to support other people whose kids, and I see 1-year-olds, 2-year-olds who can't settle without a phone. It's common to see people with babies in pushchairs watching things on the phone now. They push around, and it's how they soothe kids. If you had a kid in the last 3 years, it's probably how you soothe your kid. All the pandemic kids have phones and watch stuff on their parents' phones. So yeah, I think we need to take it much more seriously than we do, and I think we definitely need to classify it as on the same level of things like alcohol, gambling, any other dangerous addictions. And I think falls into both of those camps is porn. Also, there's lots of research that shows porn addiction and how destructive that is, and the role that technology has to play in that is just accelerating it, because it's giving people quicker, easier access to something that was already an addiction before for some people. So yeah, definitely in the disease category for me, or disorders category.
Yeah, I kind of I will follow up on that, because this is a real life example. I had a friend of mine who, his son and mine, they go to the same school. So what happens? Well, there's the new PS5 that came out. So he's a very busy guy. The mom as well. Both of them are really, really busy. But the thing is, when the kids come back from school, all they have to do is jump on the iPad, and one of them takes over the PS5. So they start like playing and keep swapping, playing and keep swapping. So now the dad was on holidays, so he had to like stay at home with the kids. So he was now really present. All of them. Well, what happened was he wanted them to, I think it was reading time, for them to like, okay, turn everything off and go hit the books. The little guy said, no way, I'm still busy playing, because they play this, I don't know, from the PS5, I think you can actually stream and play with someone
else,
friend, someone that's not in the room virtually. You can start playing together. So he says no, said that his friend is still online, that he has to complete. I said, no way, you must go and hit the books now. It became an argument. This boy is just 12. It became a serious argument. He was talking back and forth, like, okay. The dad now just took all the gadgets in the house, disconnected everything. This boy started hitting the wall. You see, started hitting the wall, punching stuff. And the dad just flipped and kicked the trainers. There was a trainers by the door, kicked the trainers towards the boy. You know what happened? The boy had to like call the police that the dad just assaulted him. And before you knew it, the social service were there.
Wow.
And they started writing all sorts. So it is really, really dangerous. And they had to like send the dad away from the house. I think it was either 24, 48 days that he had to like stay out of the house.
Wow.
Yeah. So it is really dangerous if it's not controlled.
The issue is we don't know who actually to blame. Do we blame the tech companies? Do we blame parents? What do you think, Carla?
I never think it's helpful to blame in any situation like this, because I think it's always complicated. And I think when you pick it apart, it boils down really to responsibility on the part of all. And we all have different responsibilities. So tech companies do have a responsibility, and we can't keep saying that they don't. I know that there are camps of people who like to say, oh, no, well, the tech companies do this and it's your responsibility. No, they are people, and they're designing products for people, and part of that is responsibility and ethics. They should have ethics departments. They should have staff who are committed to ethical practice as much as possible. And I hope that that improves. I hope that more people with ethics and certain values manage to get in these companies, or those that are already in there who have ethics and values and are probably hiding them and sitting on them start to speak out more, so that we can see companies behaving better because of their employees, which I know is a challenge. But then parents do have responsibility as well. We have responsibility as individuals over ourselves as adults, even if we're not parents. Everyone, teachers can help with this. Schools definitely. I know that we've had, when I was working as a teacher, we have modules in certain subject curriculums now that deal with this. I know that as a teacher, I dealt with children in the special needs department who had technology addictions, and maybe similar situations to what Victor was talking about, where it had broken down families. So I think everyone can play a role in it and can help take some responsibility and some ownership. And you know, we can do different things. If you're a teacher, you don't always have to do technology related subjects, even though there's a big push for it. You can have some non-screen lessons that can still be engaging, still be fun, still be modern. Same, you know, as a parent, if you take breaks, if you show balance in your life, then your children will maybe not always do the same as quickly, but they will adapt and they will respect the fact that you're willing to change and all of that. So rather than blame, I would say we have to be more responsible, more wise, and figure out in whatever context we operate in society, what we can do personally to help the situation, and have balance. It's all about balance, isn't it? We're not saying lock the phones up or move to a commune or stuff like that. You know what I mean? It doesn't necessarily solve the problem, but just having balance, whatever that means for your.
But actually, like listening to you now, like I feel when you go more in busy cities like New York, UK, Paris, you don't have a choice because everything now is connected to internet. You pay with it, where if you wanted to go someplace, scan a code. Now it's becoming like an external necessity for everyone. Do you think it's an environment issue? Do you think maybe the West is more concerned about it?
I don't think so. I think you're right that lots of countries and lots of functions in society rely on your phone, for example. But that doesn't mean you need Instagram. You know, you can scan the QR code in the restaurant and then turn your phone off and eat your food without your phone. We don't need to use that as an excuse to then scroll Instagram, which is, I think that's what a lot of people do. It's like, oh, I need my phone for everything, so I'll just sit on Instagram all day. No, I think there's a difference between responsible use of something and irresponsible use. We wear shoes every day to walk about, but we're not addicted to our shoes because they're functional, right? And the phone could be the same. You could just use it, make a call, and then turn it off. A good thing to do also is, for some people, is limit how much data you have, so that when you're out and about, if you're in a Wi-Fi zone, that's different. But if you don't have data, you can't scroll Instagram. Then you can maybe do it for an hour when you get home, or, you know, find ways to control it, that you can still turn your mobile off. So I don't think necessarily the environment it causes it either. I think it's still up to you to kind of adapt to the environment and decide when you will and when you won't. You can still, in restaurants, for example, get up and order at the bar, or order the normal way from the menu.
Even the menu, they don't give it to you. It's like, you just scan it with your phone. I don't have iPhone.
Well, find a restaurant that does. Have a tech-free day, or just ask them for the special. Just say, bring me the special.
No, if you want to do functional stuff online with your phone, you won't spend up to 2 hours a day on it, because most of them, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you're done. Checking your email, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you're done. Because you don't want to read all the emails that you have. Just read emails. You don't want to start reading junk, spam. No, you just read 3, 4, 5. If you have 100 emails that you need to respond to, that means it's a work situation. So which you actually need your phone or your laptop or desktop to to perform those tasks on. So, and with regards to if it's an environmental issue, no, it is not. It is your issue that you need to actually deal with. Have some non-screen days. Have
Yeah.
some digital downtime. You know, instead of writing stuff on your notepad or your this, just write them on paper. Yeah, so these are things that you can actually do. And during that period, I was doing my digital detox. I was I had a I think it was a little game in my house where we found that we just want to like, okay, who's the first person that will go on their phone? We have to maybe do the dishes. And we found out that most of the time it's my wife who wants to like go on her phone because she can't stay away. So there are different ways, but you need to actually take responsibility for yourself and your gadget. It is your gadget, anyways. You can't be the one controlling the way you, or you keep finding excuses. Oh,
Yeah.
because I need to pay for this, I need to pay for that. It's just a quick scan, poop, and it's done. Poop, and it's done.
So I'm
So
curious, how do you discipline your kids with this? Because
you try. I try. I won't say it is la la. No, I try just to make sure that they actually do what they want, what they're supposed to do. Because my son now, he most of the assignments, most of their homework is done online, and I get an alert that oh he has not done his assignment, or he has done it. So I get the feedback. So when he says, "Oh, I'm doing my homework online," I can check and I see that he has done it. So and the time that he plays with his phone or uses his phone, I try to, there's something about they say with we African parents, when we just walk into a room and we see our kids just lying there doing nothing on their phone, we try as much as possible to give them a shot to do. That is what we do. I don't know how we manage to do that, but if I walk into a room and I see my daughter on her phone and I see my son on the laptop, I would just look around and say, "Go and tidy up the shoes. Have you done this? How is your room?" I just walk to the room and say, "You know what? Go tidy up your room. Take the Hoover." Something that they'll have to do for like half an hour. So that it's just that I don't want to see them, even though they're playing game, I find a way to disrupt. I hope they're not watching this, but I find a way to just disrupt what they're doing. Not because not because I don't want them to enjoy playing or have a good time, but you know, I just want to disrupt them.
yeah, I mean, you remind me with my uncle. I remember 12 years ago, he used to hide the internet link during the night because he knows that we will wake up and and watch and play on the internet. So we had like this limited internet that you can't use for a while. And
I
if it's,
tried that.
yeah, and if it's consumed, we are in a big problem.
I tried that. But there was this time we walk into the house, everywhere was quiet. Everyone was on their quiet. Okay. I said, okay, okay, okay. I just went in. I logged into the internet router, and I turned it off on purpose. I just turned it off. I said, "Oh, the internet is finished." I said, "Okay, hold on a minute." I check. The light is still there. The router is on, but it's turned off, so no Wi-Fi, no um, you can't connect to anything. So what we have to do is, oh, have you called them? Oh, okay. You know what? I've not paid for the internet. That is why I've not paid. I said, "Oh, how come you've not paid for the internet?" I said, "You know what? Let me call them. Let me speak to them. They'll fix it." So I would drag it for like 4 or 5 hours for everybody to calm down in the house. So it's just one of those. If not, you can't really control them because they have access to whatever they want to use. So it's just for you to make them understand. I try to make them understand, come, there's a time and a place for this. So
Yeah.
you can't control them because immediately you turn your back, they'll start doing things on the ground that you want them to come in the open and start doing what you're doing in front of you. When they start sneaking behind you to do it, that's when I believe it's dangerous.
Yeah. And actually, I have seen a science paper that talks about phone addiction, and it's called Combating Digital Addiction, Current Approaches and Future Directions. It's a science paper that was done by psychoanalysts and medical doctors, and they talk about the harm of the digital addiction. And they said that from this paper, 52 out of 87 from the people that has done this research, they have adopted a therapeutic approach to to have less phone addiction. And this paper is very interesting because it shows to you all the negative effects and the diseases that we can have from the digital addiction. So does any one of you heard of the definition of dopamine fasting or digital detox?
A little bit, yeah. I'm familiar with it. It's quite hard. It's just like any other quitting any other addiction. There's withdrawal symptoms and all of that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
You, Victor?
I would say I can relate that to the dopamine fasting. I can relate that to my detox because you think when you wake up in the morning, your hand goes. Your hand just goes to where the phone is and you pick it up. And when you pick it up, you start. When you look at the alarm, you look at all the alerts, all the notifications there, and you start. So when you wake up the next day saying you want to do the fasting, it's like doing the regular fasting. When you wake up the next day and you want to, you don't want to look at your phone. You don't want to check this. You don't want to check Instagram. You don't want to check your DMs. You don't want to check. It is really difficult. So I think dopamine fasting, because the pleasure you always get from this looking at your screen, seeing flashy images, see where choreographed successes, you just keep going. Oh, it's there. It's a never ending investigation or a never ending research. You just keep looking, keep searching. But as you keep searching, it's like playing the video game. You have little wins, you get a reward. You have little wins, you get a reward, and it keeps going into your brain. Like poof, yeah. It's like porn as well. It's like sex as well. It's like all this kind of stuff. So you get addicted to it, but now you want to cut back. Your body's gonna fight you. The body's gonna fight you. So dopamine fasting. If I see that as a problem, then I think the detox will be really, really recommended. Or have the easiest thing is to go into your phone. There's this where you see your how long you spent on your phone. You see the whole time that you spent on your phone today. You see the apps. Most time you see that you spend like 3 hours, 4.5 hours on just one app alone, Instagram or Facebook. So you can see where you spend your time on your phone because it keeps track. So now take account of those things, acknowledge that yes, this is what I do, this is what I'm doing, then consciously start cutting back. But if you are using Android, I would recommend the Digital Balance app. that you can use on your phone.
I need one too.
It's
Yeah.
there. And
Especially,
I think that's part of how these tech companies are like compensating for people being addicted to their product. It's like cigarette as well.
yeah, especially actually with remote working and distance working and everything. I think Carla is more familiar with that. I had a remote client and I stayed for like 1 year, and it was just a great experience, and I would love to have it too. But I think also it's a form of addiction to work from a distance, right, Carla?
Yeah, there are issues with it. I think because it's work, it can get less, it's got less of a tendency to have that dopamine kick, because we don't really associate dopamine with work. We associate it with pleasurable activities. So for me, I think one of the reasons why I'm not keen on being on my phone as well in my downtime is because I work remotely and digitally a lot of the time. And I spend a lot of time on the computer, and I have done for years, actually. Even before I worked remotely, I was a teacher. So a significant portion of my day involved being at a screen in this position. And the pain and the screen fatigue is a real issue. So I don't associate a screen with pleasure unless I'm laying flat on the couch with snacks watching something. So I don't really get an issue of working remotely being an addiction, but I think it can feed into addictions. I know that it can feed into things like snacking addictions. Definitely, if you're not really enjoying the remote work and you're not on Zoom and you kind of just on your own behind the screen, you can sit there and consume a lot of calories. I've done that, like, to keep yourself going, and a lot of coffee. I recently quit coffee, actually, because I realized it was making me ill. But it took me years to realize it was the coffee that was making me ill. Just from having all this pain, and then suddenly stopping and thinking, oh, I wonder if it's the coffee. And I quit the coffee, and then the pain went away. So it can feed into unhealthy habits, having a screen work lifestyle, definitely. But it can also cause an addiction if you have a tendency to be addicted to working, then having this freedom to work from home and set your own hours, you can go overboard, and your work can then become an issue that's impacting your relationships, impacting your health. You could be not getting up for regular breaks. I was on a course at the weekend that was all intensive, and by the end of Sunday, oh, my back was killing, my legs were killing, just from sitting down too much. So there are those issues with screens, because it can keep you there kind of hooked. Issues with your vision. I know someone who suffers from dry eyes from constantly being on screens, and that then feeds into migraines and sinus infections. So there's a connection to our health that we have to think about with remote working. And also the isolation. If you're like me, a natural introvert, you have to push yourself to get out of your comfort zone to actually go and socialize and have a face-to-face coffee and have a walk around and be around people. Because if you don't, you can get drawn into this thing of, oh, I'm sick of people, I don't like people, I think I'm just going to go on my computer. Yeah, and it can start to, you can get to a point where you're looking for a remote solution to everything. And all your groups are remote, and all your groups are Zoom, and all your groups are forums. That, I think that can be a bit dangerous, a slippery slope to go down, because we need real humans. I love the times in the week where I go and hang out with the girls at the baby bank and someone just gives me a hug. You know, it's like, that is a human need. Even as an introvert, you do need your face-to-face connections, and you have to I shut the screen when I come away from this station. I shut the screen because that's like a cue to me that I'm not answering any emails, I'm not doing any work. And usually once I shut this screen, I also turn off the data and Wi-Fi on my phone, so that the only contact that I'll get after that is people that will call me, and that's probably going to be a loved one, because it's an important call. So yeah, I've had to kind of find a balance with working remotely over the last 2.5 years to figure out what works for me. I just invested in a special desk, which I'm broadcasting from right now. It's one of those ones that's like a gas lift one, so you can use it as a standing one. So some weeks when I'm broadcasting, you might see me standing, and I did that for my health, for my back.
That's great.
I'm thinking about getting like a stepping machine as well, so you might see me broadcasting stepping. It's just
Actually, that's interesting. Go ahead, Victor.
Yeah, I just want to like say what some of the benefits of actually this dopamine fast, digital fast as well, is that our attention span is getting smaller every day according to the science, getting smaller every day. So when you start reducing your time on digital stuff, not the useful ones, but the more addictive ones, you start your ability to focus longer, because sometimes we have this short attention span. When you start focusing for like half an hour, it's like a really short, serious work to focus, to go all in for half an hour. So when you start reducing your time due to the dopamine, because you need a quick fix, and now you're trying to like cut back, your attention span starts to like increase, you focus more, you'll be able to read more instead of like read 1 page, 2 pages, now I'm done with this now. And you improve your self-motivation, self-control, you develop more patience, for stuff, for conversation. You start having conversation with real human beings, and you want to sit down there because you've not seen the flash or the glamour, but you're seeing someone live in front of you, and you'll be actually interested in knowing them, communicating with them, instead of the how many seconds, 30 seconds on the reels or 15 seconds on TikTok and think you've known someone. You have time to actually go deeper into like having a good conversation, and also a sense of fulfillment. Actually, after focusing for a long time, you actually have that sense of fulfillment, that pride that you actually achieved something. So these are some of the benefits of just like actually reducing these dopamine hits from your screen.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. I would say that Victor mentioned there about reading. I'm biased when it comes to reading because I was a reading instructor for children who didn't read and write for 15 years. So I've seen the difference between the outcomes for people who can read and who can't, and people who are regular readers as adverse to those who don't read at all or who read sporadically or just for necessity. And I think reading is really undervalued, and I definitely don't think that on-screen reading comes anywhere near the experience of reading a real book, especially for children. And I think parents and teachers have to be cautious about this view that you can get rid of books and children can do these things on iPads or they can do them on screens, because it's really not true. And I've seen the impacts of it. I've seen how it affects children in terms of what Victor said about their attention span, but also in terms of their ability to calm themselves and soothe themselves. There's something really soothing about being able to get a real book and jump in a sofa or curl up on the floor or whatever and read. It's very important that children still have those experiences, and not with an iPad, not with digital stories or with audio stories. It's not the same. I'm not saying they don't have their place, they definitely do. And our guest last week was talking about that. But real books and the experience of being in a quiet room with no screen and having a story and a book is very important, especially for children under the age of 10. But also a child that can read and can access the printed form for information has a world of information, at their fingertips, in-depth information that they can't get on the internet. Victor was saying about reels and all of that. We live in a world with everyone's an expert on everything now. So if you mention something, people will be like, oh, this and that. And you're like, how do you know? And they'll be like, I saw it on YouTube or saw it on TikTok. And you're like, no, did you read a book about this thing? People spend like 20 years of their life researching a thing in books, in libraries, and then they get to be called experts. You can't be an expert from YouTube. Doesn't matter how many hours, because there are levels of knowledge. There are journals, for example, printed journals, out there in the world that cost £100 to subscribe to, and you're just like, why? Because it contains research that you can't find on the internet. So I think that whole world needs to be encouraged, you know, still take kids to the library, even though it's 2022. Every kid should have a library card, not just because of, even if your library is rubbish and it only has a handful of books that are all available online, it's still important for kids to be able to do that. And us, for us, it's calming to get in bed at night with a book and turn your phone off and hold a real book, a real novel that tells stories about people that you can grow so much from. And the same with writing, physical writing, it's not the same as typing. That also as an educator, that there are certain pathways, certain connections, certain things that develop in the brain of children when they physically write. It helps to do amazing things for their development. So give them opportunities to write with pen and paper and to colour, all those really old-fashioned things, word searches, colouring in, doing puzzles that involve using their hands and all that, painting, sticking, those things are still really important. And I love what Victor said earlier when he said he breaks up his kids' time on screens by just getting them to do a job. You can do that as well with all the activities that we all had when we were kids, jigsaws and all those things. They're still really, really valuable, and it can help to kind of cut up those chunks of tech time and make, you know, for a more healthy, holistic and rounded person.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for these insights, Carla. I think a lot of parents, they are not aware of that addiction, and it's very important to outline those kind of behaviors. And I think it's once you identify the behavior and you identify the reward you're craving for, you can make a plan for it and be more aware of that. And that's what we wanted to show today, that phone addiction is not a normal topic. It's something that affects all of us, and we are part of we are part of this world, and we need to have more awareness about it. So thank you so much for being here and listening to us. So Carla, where they can find your podcast?
My podcast is the Wonder and Wellbeing Podcast, and you can find it on all podcast platforms. Over to you, Victor.
Yeah, and my podcast is Diaspora Entrepreneurs Podcast. You can Spotify is going on top 10 on the Diaspora list, and also Anchor, Apple iTunes, Google Podcasts, and on YouTube. But watch out, new episode coming out tomorrow, 7 a.m. British Standard Time. So watch out for that.
Great. And my podcast is Women with Stories, where I share stories from women who rose above different challenges. You can check new episode for next week on Spotify. Yes. So thank you so much for listening, and tune in for next week.
Okay.